Hi guys, it's Laura. Thank you so much for watching and welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with another sewing tutorial. I will show you how I made my onesies. I think that onesies are very practical pieces for several sports. If you follow me on Lara Wolf Moon on Instagram, then you probably know that I'm a very active person. I work out almost every day with the exception of 1 or maximum 2 rest days. I do yoga, I do pole dance, I go to ballet classes and I stretch a lot. And I find that onesies are very practical for several things. For example, when I do some balance poses or back bends, when I have my yoga class, I just don't want to be bothered with my outfit, whether it stays in place or not, and for that onesies are just awesome. I have used 2 patterns that I created myself. I also filmed videos about how I created those patterns, which I will link down below, just in case you haven't seen them yet. So if you want to know how I made my onesies, then please keep watching. So first we are going to have a look at how I laid out the pattern for the onesies. And I'm going to demonstrate it on this one. This one is made of fabric where the direction of the fabric makes no difference because the pattern goes kind of both ways. And once I have shown you how to lay out the pattern and several basic steps, I will also show you the differences when it comes to a pattern just like I'm wearing now, where there's top and a bottom part. So let's get into this. For my onesie, I'm using 2 patterns that I created myself. So I have a leggings pattern and a top pattern. I filmed for both of those a video how I created those patterns, so no need to explain it here. I have linked both videos down below, and I'm just gonna go over how I laid out the pattern on the fabric. So this is the front part of the leggings and this is the back part. I have laid the parts so that they meet on the side, so I will have no side seam. And I have also folded them a little bit upwards because I want to have pedal pusher length and not the entire leggings length. And then where the waist starts, there is my top pattern. So this is the back part and this is the front part, obviously, so matching to the leggings part. And I have folded the back and the front part always in the middle, and I kind of made them meet here on the side. So it's not perfect because if you look at this pattern, it is a little bit more curved, but that's okay because I'm using a stretchy fabric. This is the pattern for my straps. So I have already folded one so that you can see how wide the straps are supposed to be, and this is how the fabric looks like when it's unfolded. And then I have 2 of those. These are going to be my cuffs for the bottom of the leggings, which I haven't done when I was showing you how I made my leggings in my video with my DIY yoga outfit. This is new. So basically I took enough fabric so that I could fold it, and I made sure that the width matches this width, and you will see during this video how I'm going to proceed with that. I have saved us the time of watching me pinning the parts together, because if you've been following me for a while now, you have probably seen me pinning things together about a gazillion times by now. So what I have here is again the main part of the onesie, but this time also with pins at right angles. So I have pinned the middle part of the torso together on the front and also here on the back. Then I have laid out the fabric for the cuffs in the entire length, and I have pinned the sides together. Again, I kept the pins as usual at right angles, and then I have folded also the second strap and I put several pins in it, and now I'm going to my sewing machine and I will start putting the parts together. So here we have the straps and the cuffs. So I have sewn the straps through with a stretchy zigzag. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so that you can see it. And even though the stretchy zigzag isn't supposed to stretch the fabric out, it does a little bit. And that's why I have sewn around both long edges so that the fabric would stretch on both sides equally. Now let me zoom out a little bit again so that we can see the cuffs. I have sewn the cuffs with the stretchy overlock stitch, and then I cut back any excess fabric, and this is how the cuff looks like once it has been folded and once it is ready to be sewn on. I have sewn the body part of the onesie also with the stretchy overlock stitch, and I also cut back any excess fabric, and now I have pinned together the leg parts. As usual, I kept the pins at right angles, and now I am going to sew through here also with the stretchy overlock stitch. I always like sewing stretchy fabrics a bit further from the edge, and that way the edge won't get stretched out. Once that was done, I cut back the excess fabric. Then the edge looked like this. Next, I turned the onesie to the good side and I started pinning the cuffs in place. I kept the pins as usual at right angles. Here is what it looked like. And then I have sewn the cuffs in place with the stretchy overlock stitch. I folded the fabric around the armholes inwards and I have pinned it in place. And then it looked like this. Next, I folded the top edges twice and pinned them in place together with the straps, and I have sewn all in place with stretchy zigzag. Those steps were practically the same, just like in my DIY yoga outfits video, which is linked down below, so that's why I didn't go here in any further details. Once the straps were sewn in place and the edging was done, my onesie was finished, and here are a few details. Now, I personally find that adding the cuff at the end of your leggings is definitely a much nicer way of edging leggings than just folding the fabric inwards and sewing it through. So this is definitely something I'm gonna do more also in future. Here is another way how to hem either a neckline or the armholes instead of just folding the fabric to one side and pinning it in place. So you can cut a strip of fabric, I would say it's a little bit more than an inch wide, and you fold it in the middle. And then you align it with the edge of the place that you want to hem so that the open edge of the folded strip of fabric is aligned with the edge, if that makes any sense. So you pin it in place. Now what you have to keep in mind here is that the armholes are round, so in that place you have to hold the fabric straight while you pin the strip of the fabric on it. And then it looks like this. Let me zoom in a little bit more. And now I will sew it here around the edge with a stretchy overlock stitch, and when you fold it then back, it's gonna look like this. But we'll have a look at that in detail. So I have sewn the strip of fabric on. This is how it looks like. I have used a black thread because you can see it's so much easier on the white back side. So this is the stretchy overlock stitch. It's really awesome. And now I'm just gonna fold this in. By the way, I have also cut back any excess fabric because I like having as clean line as possible. So now I'm folding it inward, and I'm just gonna put a few pins in as usual at right angles so that I can keep them inside while sewing through the fabric. And once the entire strip of fabric has been pinned in place, I will sew through with a straight stretchy stitch, and then it will look like this. Let me zoom in again a little bit. I think it makes a really nice clean edge. It looks much better than when you only fold it inwards. And I think that also actually the black thread goes well with the entire sugar skull theme here. But of course I could have used also mint colored thread, but I thought this is so much easier to see for you guys. Now let's have a look at the cuffs on the sugar skull onesie. What I had to consider here was that the fabric has a direction. The sugar skulls are facing a certain direction, and if I would turn the fabric any way I wanted to, it could happen that the sugar skulls would be upside down, just like I have it here. And that was something I had to consider when I was pinning this cuff on, and I have decided that what I wanted was that the sugar skulls would have the same direction like on the rest of the onesie. This is how I made it, so that's why I have pinned it on like this. By the way, I have sewn the cuffs on with the stretchy overlock stitch, and I also cut back any excess fabric as usual. So this is how the cuff looks like once it's done. Now there's no right and wrong. If you want your cuffs to be this way so that the sugar skulls would be upside down and you do it on both ways, that's absolutely okay. It's all about your personal preference. There is no right and wrong. This is a little bit of an art when you're creating some fashion pieces. As long as you like it, there is no right and wrong. Don't let anyone tell you that. So if I would want the sugar skulls to be facing upside down, then I would simply take the cuff as it is now. I would fold it upwards and put the leg part in and pin it in place like this. I always double check before I sew it on, so if I would fold it downwards, I would see, okay, it's upside down, that's what I want, and that would be fine. Well, but that's not what I want, so I want my sugar skulls in the same direction, so that means I put the cuff next to my leg part like this, make sure this is the right direction, then I fold it upwards, put the leg in, and then I will start pinning it in place. I will make sure that the edges of the cuff and the edge of the leg part are aligned perfectly, and then I will put in my pins at right angles as usual, and then I will sew it on with the stretchy overlock stitch. Now I will demonstrate how I like sewing on these straps. I always like starting on the back side. So I have folded the edge of the back part twice inwards. I have pinned it in place, and then I placed on each end one of the straps. Here you have also keep in mind the direction. So on the back the sugar skulls are going to be upside down, but when I turn it on the front part, the sugar skulls are going to be in the right direction. And that's on both straps. It's very similar to the cuffs. So I have pinned the straps on like this together with the folded fabric, and you can also see that instead of the stretch zigzag, I have used on this pattern just a straight stretch stitch. So I will basically start sewing on the cuff here. I will kind of copy this line and extend it a little bit inwards with a regular straight stitch. This is where I'll start. So I start sewing through the strap. I will sew a few stitches, and I go a bit back so that the seam will be secured, and then I go forwards very slowly. Now once I arrive to the place where there are more layers of fabric, I will make the stitch at least 1.5 longer because it's easier. And then I will sew it on. And now I will put the needle deep in. I lift the sewing foot and turn the fabric 90 degrees. Lower the sewing foot, and then I go forward. And I stop about at the place where, when I will continue sewing at 90-degree angles, I will align my seam with the seam on the other side of the strap. So I will lift the sewing foot again. I turn the fabric 90 degrees. Okay, it's not really lifted now. And then I will sew straight until I connect with the seam on the strap. And here I go a little bit backwards and forward and backwards. Now my stitch is secured. Now you can try when you pull on the strap if this opens a little bit. If that's the case, I would definitely recommend to sew one more line here on this edge, which is what I'm gonna do now because I actually don't like it as it is. So I will go very close to the edge. I lower the needle first, go forward, a bit backwards, and then I sew the entire line through. And then I go backwards again, forward, backwards, and that should be secure enough. And now it looks like this. So you have basically here a rectangle, so your strap is sewn on in a very secure way. This is how the back part looks like once it's done. So I have sewn through with a stretchy zigzag, and I also made sure that I aligned the stretchy zigzag with the bottom part of the rectangle where I have sewn the straps on. Now, the reason why I like sewing on the straps first in the back is because not every stretchy fabric acts the same way when you put it on, when you're wearing it. So you might have two different kinds of fabrics and they will stretch out differently. For that reason, I always like checking on the length of the straps first before I sew them also on the front part. And now I put the onesie on, and it is so much easier to pull the strap from the back towards the front and to check the length here and to try to pin it differently on than it would be if you would have to do it in the back. Unless you have someone who's gonna help you, it's always easier if you have to do it yourself if the final step is in the front. I think you know what I mean. So when I put the straps on the way they are supposed to be according to the pattern, which is actually pretty accurate, it feels alright now. But I've made several other things from this fabric already, and I know when I sweat a lot it tends to stretch out a little bit more than some other fabrics, so I would feel more secure if the strap would be a little bit tighter. So this is what I have done here on the other side. I think I will have to shorten it by about ½ an inch, and then it feels super secure. So I have put here on the other side where I adjusted the length to what I feel is more secure, 2 pins so that it wouldn't come off. Now I'm going to take this one off so that I know which one is the right way. Then I take the onesie off, I will adjust the length also on the other side, and then I can sew the straps also on the front part. Let's compare the edging on both onesies. So this onesie is definitely the easier and quicker version, where I only folded the fabric inwards and I have sewn it through with the stretchy zigzag. I find that since this pattern is very dense and there are so many colors, it doesn't matter if you use the stretchy zigzag because you can't really see it unless you're very close and unless you know where to look. I found personally that using the straight stitch here was definitely the better choice because this pattern is not as dense as the other one. And also using the additional strip of fabric made a really nice effect, but other than that I think that both look good. As for the edging on the top, I also found that here the stretchy zigzag doesn't matter since the fabric has such a dense pattern, but I definitely find that the straight stitch here on the sugar skull pattern looks better. But it's up to you, you can still use a stretchy zigzag here as well. There is, as I always say, no right and wrong. This is all about personal preference, but that's how I preferred doing it. Well, and here we have the straps. So just like on the other parts of this onesie, unless you know where the stitch is, you would probably not notice, definitely not right away, and you would have to be really close. So the stretchy zigzag was here definitely the right choice. And here you can see that the straight stitch looks quite elegant. I would almost say it looks really clean. So just maybe take a piece of fabric and try a few stitches and then have a look at it. Think about it a few minutes and then decide what you like the best. So this is how I made my onesies. You can of course adjust the length of the leg parts. You can make it like shorts or long leggings. It's absolutely up to you. There is no right and wrong, as I like saying all the time. And I am absolutely in love with them. They are really comfortable for working out, so I'm definitely gonna make myself at least 1 or 2 more. I don't know what fabric I'm gonna use yet, but I have seen a few that I liked, and once I do that I will post the photos on Instagram. By the way, Instagram, if you're gonna make yourself a onesie using my idea, don't forget to post pictures on Instagram and tag me with Mondberg TV so that I can see what you guys created. I love seeing that. And if you liked today's video, don't forget to give it a thumb up. You can also share it with anyone who you think might be interested. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you didn't yet, so that you won't miss any further projects. And that's it for today. I have listed the videos with the patterns down below in the description box, together with all of my Instagram accounts and a few other videos that might be interesting for you. And thank you so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful day and see you guys next time. Bye!